Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing. I'm Braden.
I'm Zel.
I'm Dan.
And tonight we welcome back to a friend of the show, Tyler from Dockside Media, documentary wizard. Last time we had him on, we were talking about conscious contact, full disclosure. Since then, I think he's released, Secrets of the Sasquatch, The Ghosts of Gettysburg. And now he's here to talk about In Plain Sight, the Intelligence Community and UFOs, right up our alley. So Tyler, welcome back to the show.
Man, Braden, Zel, Dan, good to be here. Love the energy, man. And dude, it feels good in my heart that you guys called me a friend. Like, that's dope, man. I love what you guys are doing. Having fun, right? Talking about these topics. I think you guys started or spun off another podcast with sports and conspiracies, right? As well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you guys are just, I love it. You guys are doing everything, man. So, myself, and then the other half of Dockside Media, Chris Rupert, who couldn't make it here today. We've been having a blast, man, pumping out these interesting, informative, entertaining, and thought-provoking documentaries on these different topics like UFOs, Sasquatch, and ghosts. And this newest one, In Plain Sight, the Intelligence Community and UFOs, is available October 18th. That's this coming Tuesday on Amazon, Apple TV, iTunes, Google Play, PlayStation, and Microsoft. And dude, we've been having a blast going on various podcasts, discussing it, man. So far, every advanced screener has been nothing but positive feedback, that it's our best doc yet, and that we just continue to improve and get better. And for your audience, the viewers, the listeners out there, man, I think it's really dope that we have interviews with retired CIA officer John Ramirez, former Air Force Office of Special Investigations Counterintelligence Officer Richard Doty, right? Roswell expert and author Tom Carey, who's written 12 books on Roswell, interviewed over 600 first and secondhand witnesses there. I mean, the guy's just a plethora of knowledge. And then also MUFON field investigator Jesse Peak, MUFON stands for Mutual UFO Network. And so, he's out there, boots on the ground, getting reports from different people in like the Pennsylvania area about whether it's sightings, abductions, implants, stuff like that. And then the last interview was with Eric Mintel, who's like a paranormal investigator and experiencer. So it was sick that, especially like those first two, the retired CIA and the counterintelligence officer. I mean, it was just an absolute adventure going to interview, right? These types of people that you see in movies, and you know what I mean? You have this idea in your head what the CIA is, and it's like a Jason Bourne movie I'm living through, man. I love it. Love it.
Well, I think it was, we got a little preview, early screener. I gave it a 13-minute standing ovation, just so you know. It was just me, but
just him in his living room.
I loved it. Yeah, I did. I loved it. So like listening to Richard Doty, I think he brought up a point that I thought was fascinating. That was like, people always ask why, the CIA has all these images and stuff of these UAPs, UFOs over foreign skies and stuff. They're like, why, we're not getting a lot. How come you don't know so much about like these ones in the US? And he's like, I think a lot of people forget, like, we're foreign intelligence. Like, we're looking at the skies of other countries. We don't care. We're not that's not our business. Like, we're not in the business of spying on our skies and stuff. They got eyes on the skies above other countries. So a lot of the footages of UFOs and UAPs are either like, out in the ocean or over other countries. I thought that was an interesting point. It just always kind of like goes over my head when when you're thinking about those things.
Good food for thought. And I thought it was dope. And not to correct you, but I think it might have been John Ramirez, retired CIA, who had said
talking about the CIA.
He was a ballistic missile
that's
radar
right.
operator. Well, like he was tasked with monitoring Russian or Soviet airspace, right, during the Cold War. And it's just dope to hear him talk about seeing these anomalous like UFOs on radar, watching the Soviets recognize it, not know what it is, and mobilize, right, to go investigate. So it's like, whoa, it's just a cool Yeah, it's just a great story to hear. Like, oh man, that's nuts. That he was seeing these things right back in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah, I think he referred to himself as, I wrote it down, electronic intelligence analyst. So he was kind of overseeing or watching what the Russians were interested in on their radar. And then he would kind of see what they were interested in and see if it was something the US had to be interested as well. So, and yeah, it's really cool that you got a lot of these guys on this documentary, because it comes at a time where, people have been throwing around disclosure forever and it never happens. There's never disclosures. There's this Air Force guy sees this, he comes out on record, says something, and it's all good. And then nothing happens. People put in requests for more. They never get it. It's tied up forever. And then now we had Dan, what was it called? The Senate Committee on UFOs, or recently, just in the summer here?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But
we're Canadian, so we lose some of those terms.
They gave it a new acronym or whatever, but it's basically like it's basically like Project Blue Book for the new,
like, modern day.
yeah. It's the 2000s new Blue Book. I think this one is actually a bit more comprehensive than the last one. Like Project Blue Book was pretty much just like, what's his name?
Should have been called Project Blue Pamphlet.
Well, Hynek, right? It was
right. It was just like Alan J. Hynek just driving around, not even getting reimbursed for gas in his car,
right?
Checking out, personally going through like 4,000 reports a day, and he's like, "What the hell am I doing?"
Right.
But the new one is a bit more comprehensive. They said it. I think it's still technically early days, but yeah, they sat down, and the last meeting was pretty interesting to watch. And this documentary it ties in a lot of this stuff from the historical accounts. Going back to in the documentary, Roswell is like you said, your one guest that you had testimony about, the things that happened during Roswell, the intimidation, the cover-up tactics that were used at the time to cover up not just the one that crashed at Roswell, but the second one they mentioned as well that happened outside Socorro, New Mexico, I believe, and. Yep. Yeah. So, they're worried about how in the documentary, a couple of the guys talk about how the new Blue Book, or whatever you want to, I can't remember the acronym off the top of my head, is not going to address those problems. Like those issues may never get addressed, because they brought up at the last one congressional meeting, they brought up the one incident over the nuke base, the one
Maelstrom.
Yeah, right.
Maelstrom.
The Maelstrom nuclear base, and they talked about that one. They kind of asked about, are you guys going to investigate that? And then they kind of gave them kind of standard answer. Like, I'm not sure what they expected, because it's like those guys that they just put in there is just like, we just got here. Right. And it's like, are you guys going to investigate this? They're like, yeah, if there's something to it, we'll
softballs
look into
only.
Sure.
Softballs only. Next question.
But it's early days, so it's going to be interesting to see something that it's finally, it's out in the open. It's not ATIP like it was before, 2014, right. 2018. Nobody knew about it. You got $600 million like going down a hole and like into a black projects, into everybody's favorite Robert Bigelow Space Industries. And you're like, okay, like, so what happened? Well, and you don't learn about it for years, but now it's an open investigation.
I think the other really cool thing that happens from this is that, even 5-6 years ago, you put out a documentary with ex-CIA saying something about UFOs, like, it gets balked at, right? Like, and now that's not the case. Like, there's so much information out there about these UAPs, congressional hearings, that these people that are coming out or have been coming out for years and coming out of the closet with their UFOs.
UFO closet.
And they're right. It's adding to an already, it's basically, we're getting tons of versions of similar stories now that haven't been untold. It's very interesting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting and hopeful times. I'm just a big optimist, right? So just the fact that I think it's going to be like, quarterly, like every 3 months, right? Congress is going to be briefed or something like that.
Yeah, they put out a time frame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think they created like a new form of reporting for Navy pilots or whatever it is, and maybe I think like the FAA, like airline pilots as well. But either way, I think these steps in that direction is only good momentum, right? It only helps. And I know the UAP task force report, like back in July of 2021 or whatever, was a bit of a letdown, but I still found hope in them saying like, look, 13 out of the 114, we don't know what they were. They weren't foreign tech and they're not US tech. And so my brain's like, well, bro, like if it's not foreign, it's not us. Well, like, I feel like that only leaves one option, right? Extraterrestrial. Yeah. It's gotta be. And so maybe they're just, putting this out there into the public like consciousness or whatever, the public sphere, to slowly get people acclimated to it until we start thinking it's a good idea. Because then at that point, that's for me. That's when a lot of like I'm slow to take action until I think it's a good idea. Then I'll do it. So maybe that's what they're doing here, is just kind of doing some sort of soft disclosure. And then in hindsight, they can say, well, like, dude, way back in 2021, we told you it wasn't foreign or ours. Or like, where are your deductive reasoning skills? How did you not
read between the lines?
Yeah. So, and we're having fun, man. Like you said, Braden, this is just a good time for these types of topics. And, just the people that we interviewed, so far, man, a lot of like all the different podcasts, like you guys watching it and saying you love it. It's really dope and meaningful to hear that, because I assume that you guys watch a good bit of UFO content, documentaries, paranormal. So, I mean, not that you're desensitized to it, but like, if it's not really grabbing your attention and it's 80 minutes long, it can be like, oh, dude, I'm not watching this guy's documentary.
Ty, I think one of the most interesting things about your documentary is that it's new voices. Like, so much in the, you start to hear the same, the who's who in the UFO community, and it seems like for a long time you couldn't produce content or do anything unless you had, an ancient alien guy, Richard Dolan. Right. And no, these guys are beauties, but it's like, it's nice to start hearing from some other voices on these things. If you're a fan of the UFO and alien community, like, these guys' takes, what they think. So it's nice to hear fresh voices. And that I'd never heard any of the people in your documentary speak before. So it was really nice.
Really sick. And like, I think there's a good bit of like new information in there, right? There's some good food for thought. Hybrids are talked about, like extratemporal, like time travel, different things about, Richard Doty seeing an extra, a live ET, right? Talks about EBA, actually standing for extraterrestrial biological entity.
Yep. And that's what Molten Howe used to call. She called them always. She always used that term, EBANs and whatnot. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so let's get into it. We're not going to spoil the whole documentary. We want you to watch it because it is well worth it. But a lot of the documentary is focused on finding this EB, right? The Roswell crash was not just a single crash. There was, through your interviews, you find out that like a massive lightning storm was happening over New Mexico that night. Supposedly 2 craft came down, the one we all will hear about, where it was spread over Marcel's Field, and he claimed, it's a weather balloon, and you see the guy with the piece of tin foil. And then a second craft that was actually not known about and recovered later on. And what was that? Just outside New Mexico, like a farmer just finds it. Days later.
Was it an archaeological team or something? What was the one or is that a different one that they mentioned? Like an archaeological team had found one, or is that a different?
Oh, they did say that, and that was we're not going to spoil too much, but they did say that the part of this team, and that's what the Roswell case was reopened after all this time because of that. Like, they found evidence of something there. But what they say is that, they recover one live ET, and they keep them alive to, I think it's till 1952. This thing is living at like a secret, an Air Force base, and they can't communicate with this creature. It doesn't have the same like throat structure. It can't communicate like us. It's like telepathic, and they call it a different name in the documentary. I can't remember, but it's like a telepathic being. So after
thought transfer might have been the term.
Thought transfer.
I can't remember.
It was thought.
He said something. He said it's like telepathy, but we called it something.
Yeah, it was thought transfer. So it just like it's like instantaneous. Whatever he's thinking is in your brain. So they kept this thing alive for 5 years. So after like listening to and interviewing all these people, like give us a little more. Give us a little more to it, because it's not obviously not everything makes the cut of the documentary. So what's your take on this ET, this living being after Roswell?
Man, well, so Richard Doty is an interesting individual. It's cool to hear you guys haven't stumbled upon him before.
We have stumbled upon him, but we never really talked about him too much on the show.
Gotcha. He's somewhat of a polarizing figure in the UFO community to those who know him, in so much that, I mean, he was a counterintelligence officer right at this Air Force base. And there was a famous, mission or whatever that he was tasked with, like seeding disinformation to this gentleman named Paul Benowitz.
Yep.
And that, and there's a lot of backstory to that, right? And Paul, I think, ultimately committed suicide, like took his life. I think there were some mental issues there, and there's just a lot of stuff as far as Richard years later saying that, like near the end of, as he's given, because like I guess the guy was picking up secret tech at that the Air Force base was using, and Richard went and told him that it was, this was UFO stuff, an extraterrestrial, an alien. And so the guy, whatever, kept chasing that rabbit. But near the end, Richard said, hey, look, like this is all Air Force stuff. Like this was my mission to tell you, get you to chase this other rabbit. And the guy's like, yeah, I knew you would say that or whatever, and like winking at him. So it was like, oh, dude, I don't know. I think the story is like Richard tried to kind of come clean and help this guy then. And the guy thought it was still part of this. Yeah. Like it was an op or whatever.
Well, yeah. Richard Doty is one of those guys, sorry to cut in, but yeah, he's one of those guys when people say, like he even says it, like when someone says, oh, I seen a UFO, he would say, well, we would tell them, oh, no, that's a drone or that's some other tech. To try and if they thought it was a UFO, they try and tell people the opposite. Like, and if it was tech, they would say, "Oh no, I think it might be a UFO." Kind of like sowing disinformation and mistrust in sources to kind of keep the story or keep the truth from kind of. It's impossible because it's fragmented. Someone says this, it's actually drone. Someone sees a drone, it may be a ET craft, and they were what he says in a lot of his interviews is they're purposely telling people different sides of story. So everyone seems a little crazy and no one can ever really take it seriously.
Yeah. And just using like hey, be a good American, be a good patriot, and just keep this to yourself. Kind of like, telling people that it's like, oh man, like, and let me say this, like, if I put myself in his shoes, like say, whatever, I just happen to grow up and I'm interested in counterintelligence and I get this great job and, like they're telling me that I need to lie and stuff on behalf of national security and it's best for your family and for the public, like I don't know what I would do. Right. And, I hope I would have a moral compass, be like, oh bro, I just can't lie. But I don't know until I'm placed in that situation. I really don't know. My gut feeling from interviewing Richard, like being in the same room with him, it's not what I had made up, in my head of who I thought he would be. He's very like disarming. He's got these glasses. He's like very non-aggressive. He's like affable, not like, like he's just likable. You just find yourself wanting to like him. He seems as he's talking, like he's recalling this stuff from his memory. Like these are events that he's experienced, things he saw or seen. And at no time did I get any feeling like, oh, he's just, like I'm being, part of some op or whatever. And he's trying to sow disinformation through us. He seemed very just genuine, down to earth, even like a little nervous before the interview, not like nervous as in like, oh man, like I'm going to just like a human being, like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to be on camera.
Little anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, so he was very human. Same thing with John Ramirez. I think what's neat about John Ramirez, the CIA officer, retired CIA officer, and we didn't include a ton of this in the doc. I think there's a part in there where he said since he was a child, he felt like he was called to the stars or something like that, like something out there. But he had some very interesting and unique experiences like UFO sightings and stuff growing up. And it's really neat to see him talk where it's very, like all this stuff is very personal to him. Like these are experiences he's had and his views are shaped based on them. But yeah, everybody seems very sincere and genuine. And yeah, John Ramirez, he's a great guy. You guys should reach out and see if you can get him on sometime. I'm sure he'd probably come on here.
Some of these names that you've had in this documentary, we'd love to have on the show. So if we can't get a hold of them, we're going to have to go through you maybe.
Yeah, no, that's fine, man. I'd be happy to help. They're great people. I think I'm going to try and maybe link up with Richard Doty again. I think we might do like a remote viewing doc coming up.
We're in. We want a part of that.
Yeah. If you guys, dude, we can get you in it, man. Absolutely. If you guys have experience with it or what your knowledge or history on it, we could use you. I think Richard Doty would be a good interview for that. And like if we can get Hal Putoff or whatever, that would be really sick as well. Because I think he was the one in charge of running it, right?
Right.
So.
All right. That's a great spot to take a short beer break. And we'll be right back. So pretty much after interviewing all these guys, you're not getting, because unfortunately in this field, there is some people sometimes that seem genuine and they seem good, and then they go through interviews and it doesn't hold up. But everything that I've seen in this documentary, they believe it. Now it's hard. Now it's really hard. I mean, the truth is always hard. But if they genuinely believe what they are talking about, like they're not. You can when you watch it, it comes across as genuine. Like this is what happened to them, and they're just recounting their story. So that's pretty awesome. That makes the doc that much better.
It does. It's like it's insane. Because Chris and I, we're just Dockside Media. I mean, we're not. Well, first off, a lot of the like for all these interviews, really, we just let these people kind of share their stories and experience. Like we don't go in with any preconceived notion of how we want this doc to be shaped or anything like that. Sometimes like after we log the first interview with John Ramirez and the things he says, like as I record and log the other interviews, most of those people, like they just happen to bring up the same things that John Ramirez talked about. Occasionally I would have to ask them like during one of the breaks, hey, is there anything, like, could you, do you have anything for hybrids or anything like that? Any experience? Although I think most of the stuff, it was just weird. They all synced up where they were talking about the same stuff. Now there's other stuff that wasn't related that like didn't make the cut. But it was really cool, man, how Chris was able to just do a great job of interweaving these, because we're not in the business of just like, putting out our opinions or anything like that. And I guess Chris and I would have to talk about it. But if we ever felt like, we logged an interview with somebody where they were just intentionally being dishonest and deceitful, I mean, I don't see us using that in a documentary. I mean, we're not, if we want to just make stuff up for a good story, I'm a good enough actor, man. We'll just do this. I can just do this myself. I don't need to be flying all over the place and lugging camera equipment and mics and all that stuff. So
green screen, you can be anywhere.
So it's really cool that so far through all four of these documentaries, like every one that we've interviewed, man, they genuinely, they're very sincere about these experiences that they had. And it makes it more powerful for me, and it helps open my mind and just help shape me into a better person, right? Because even if I don't necessarily agree or believe with something that somebody says, it's still good to have that information and that data. And you're always free to like grow and change your mind later down the road, right? Like I'm never stuck on one position. So this stuff has just been a really cool adventure and ride in helping me, grow and become a better filmmaker and just person in general.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, after doing all this, what did you find the most interesting of all the different points of views about recovered craft and telepathy and live ETB? Like what was the most interesting to you? Something maybe you never heard before or something that you came across that was new?
The one part that I thought that I just liked, and I don't know, maybe some other people were aware of it, but I guess I was ignorant to the idea that there were like two UFOs that had crashed right at Roswell. Wasn't familiar with that. Maybe that information was out there, but and I love that like Richard Doty, he just flat out says, like, as far as I know, this is the data that the government had. This is the story that the government has on Roswell. And it's just like, oh, dude, that's crazy. That's like contrary to what popular belief is on what happened there. There was like one UFO crash and that was it. They said it was a weather balloon. So I like that. I just like that all these people brought up about hybrids because I'm just kind of into that. I don't know that like that being a possibility because just the way our human civilization and species has evolved and our science and tech continuing to advance and get better and better and better at like leaps and bounds where, now we have like, right, CRISPR, right? Like gene editing, right? Like, are we not slowly harnessing gene editing?
We're slowly becoming God.
Exactly. We're slowly, back in July, CERN turned on the LHC again, right? And they found when they smashed these electrons together, they like found, I think it was like new particles, right? Like stuff smaller than the Higgs boson or whatever that like people had speculated about forever. But then they finally find that now we're going even smaller. So like every time we think we got an idea of like what the world is made up of and how it all works, I think we're like constantly proving ourselves wrong, man. We keep like looking deeper and deeper and tinier and further out into space. So when these people are bringing up this stuff about like hybrids, man, my brain I like that bouncing around in me because it could help explain, dude, like maybe all these religions are correct. Like maybe they all had these experiences, right? Maybe they were all with just ETs. They said JC walked on water, right? That sounds like anti-gravity propulsion to me and ascending to heaven, I'm just fascinated.
Turning water to
by
wine.
this.
I mean, I don't know any humans that can do that.
Exactly. So I like the hybrid part. And also
you had some 3D fish printer.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is not, dude, the 3D printing, where's that going to be here? And in 20 years, right. Do we have, we're just 3D printing houses. It's crazy that, our great grandparents, right. Like, they were like shitting in an outhouse, right? Like outside.
Yep.
No running water. That's what they did. And that was normal. And now, we can take a crap like in a metal can, go at 30,000 feet, flying at 500 miles per hour. So like in another 80 years, dude, I would not be shocked if we're not in some, saucers taking dumps, exploring the universe. Because I think, I just don't like limiting, right? How far we can go. Cause, being 37, man, I went from playing Pong to PS5 virtual reality. And it's like, dude, that's insane in this short period of time, how much technology has exploded.
It's insane, right? And we went from the first manned aircraft, like flight on air to the moon, or did we, in 60 years? And then from the moon to now to like how powerful our computers are and all the 3D rendering. And like we just can do so much with tech in 100, let's just say in 100 years, than all of recorded human history, like the leaps and bounds forward in 100 years. Just a few people ago, right? Our parents, their grandparents, and their great-grandparents. And those 3 generations, the entire human civilization has completely changed.
We just shot a vending machine sized object into an asteroid way out. Like, dog. And the asteroid was the size of like 3 football fields. You feel me, man? You understand how like trajectory, like if you're off a 1/10 of a degree here, 10 trillion miles out, you're off by
you're gone. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's
not even close.
Like, how are we doing that? And then, getting data from that and showing like, oh, dude, I forget if it shifted it. I think they needed to shift its path by 1 degree or 1/2 degree, whatever it was to be successful. And it shifted it like 5 degrees, something crazy.
Yeah. That's a huge feat.
That means we can spot this thing a lot later and it be closer to Earth and we can still, deflect it. It's like, dude, it's
like most of the major like earth-ending events have been by giant impacts, and we are now the first species on Earth that has the capabilities to prevent that through our own means. We just have to spot them fast enough, and we know now that we can change the trajectory and have these things miss Earth.
Yeah. That's the one thing though, is we gotta spot them, because we right now we only can view so much of the sky, and every it seems like every month they're like, oh, an asteroid we did not see just passed within 4 distances to the moon from Earth, which is, I mean, it's a long way, but it's so close enough. You're like, oh shit, we did not even see that coming.
Well, and that's only going to get better and better too as we start allowing AI gets more sophisticated and we start implementing these things on the sky. That I think the amount of things we're going to spot in the next 10 years is going to jump astronomically. Like I remember the first time we heard, it feels like 15 years ago probably or something, where we heard there's another Earth-like planet they've discovered in a Goldilocks zone. And now it's like, is that even a rare thing anymore? Really? Like we hear about Goldilocks zones all the time. There's hundreds and hundreds of planets we're finding all the time in the supposed Goldilocks zone. So I think we're just going to get immensely better and better. So bring on the ETs. Anything,
I wouldn't be shocked, because I think it's very easy for my pea-sized brain to be like, oh, there's like, I don't know, maybe 10 ET races, 10 different races. That's it. It's like, dude, no, there could be 1 billion, right? There could literally be 1 billion different intelligent extraterrestrial life forms. Because it's just crazy. Like the concept of like, so like somehow it's, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, yet the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light. You feel me? And it's like, my brain and like, they're like, oh, like scientists are like, no, it can expand faster than the speed of light. Like, but if you're at either point inside the rim or as far as you can see, like then it's not faster than the speed of light. But outside that, I'm like, dude, this I can't even wrap my head around it.
Yeah, the observable universe is bound by the laws, our physical laws. But outside of that, if it could be, anything goes.
Yeah, man. So it's a fun time to be alive, man. And it's cool to be you guys doing stuff like this and Dockside Media doing these types of documentaries. Cause I think as we generate that more momentum, destigmatize these types of topics, it allows people to have these conversations. I think then we gather and generate more data and, hopefully we can get, a better idea on what's out there and
100%. And just us doing this right now, 20 years ago, unheard of. 4 people in different parts of the world talking in almost real time. Like, yeah, there's 100 millisecond delay, but it's pretty good in high def streaming video and pretty good audio from different parts. Like in 20 years. So in 20 years from now, like we're gonna all be middle-aged old men. What's going to be? We're going to put on a pair of goggles, a couple of electrodes on our temples, and we'll be in the same room. Is that what's good?
Yeah, maybe you'll be a middle-aged man. I'm going to be a brand new cyborg.
I'm getting full upgrades.
Oh, I'm not ruling out of the possibility that I live to like 200 or 300 or something like that. I'm just like, oh, dude, medicine's going to keep advancing. And my positive attitude, it only increases the odds of that happening. So, let's manifest that. And I mean, dude, you think about life expectancies now versus 50 years ago, 67, what was it, 50 years ago? Probably not even 50, like 40. We got doctors like smoking in the emergency room, right? Like while doing surgeries. And that was like perfectly fine. In the 90s, I remember growing up, you go to a restaurant, there's like a smoking, non-smoking section. The only thing separating the two sections was a sign, right? Like this little metal sign. It's like, well, dude, what? Like what's going on? But everybody thought that was fine, dude. This is normal, man. If I'm on this side of the restaurant, I'm not getting any of that smoke, bro.
Yeah. And 25 years ago, people are smoking on airplanes with recycled air.
Exactly. So, man, I think, now, dude, it's like, oh, bro, if you go down, man, just the odds of you making it are like incredibly high, right?
Yeah.
Like just relatively speaking to like old times where like, dude, you're hopping on a horse and somebody, and you're like with your guts like spilling out, you're trying to ride 10 miles, right? Over like 8 hours to get to like, some doctor that.
Doctor.
Exactly. Just no anesthesia. He's just the only dude comfortable enough with like sticking a knife in people.
Yeah. The local doctor was the best carpenter there. He had all the tools. He had the saws and stuff. Like, give it a whirl.
Yep.
Cut him open. Yeah. Problem.
So, decently skilled in needle points so he can stitch you back together.
Yeah. Tries his best, all he can do. Tyler, what do you think? What is your thought on ETs? Are they just observing us? Are they here? Are they malicious? Like what's your theory on them? You've talked to a lot of these guys now, because a lot of the intelligence guys say like there's no evidence that they are posing, that they're harmful because they haven't done anything yet, that they're evading us and they can block radar or whatever the circumstances are. So what do you think? Because there's a lot of theories on why ETs would want to come here. We've talked about them on the show before, but I'd be curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, dude, I'm just very open-minded. I tend not to rule anything out until I have like some concrete proof that says, hey, otherwise. And with the universe being so big, I'm just open. I'm just really open to it all. Like if there's that many different races, and my gut says, I don't think they're necessarily hostile. I feel like, dude, if they wanted to cause us harm, like I just wouldn't be here. Like it'd just be over. There's, if you have that kind of technology and power and motive or whatever it is, if you can see into the future, right? You're a precog or something,
right?
Like you see that we're just, we're going to F everything up. Well, then, you just end us. So I think there's hope that, man, I would say probably being observed. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, dude, we're super scientific, tagging cattle and, dissecting just like giant squids and just all this, stuff to like make or to write science books and learn more about anatomy and biology and physiology, like all these different things. So I wouldn't be shocked if people were being abducted and maybe studies done on them. It does make good sense. I assume that if we run into intelligent life form in another planet, we will probably do the same thing, like just observe, right? Not interfere. We want to learn as much about them as we can. And then, then eventually you probably get to a point where you're curious enough, like, oh man, well, I need to like look at their DNA or something like that.
I really think that they are tagging us like that, but I always lean now to that. If these things can bend space and time, whatever they are, we've talked about it on the show a whole bunch of times, but perhaps when they visit these families, they're visiting someone in their life, but really for these beings that they see, numerous times throughout their life, perhaps it's, an hour window for these beings because they're just visiting at certain points to get enough data and then they're off, right? So they're, what is a lifetime of experience for an experiencer could be just, a bunch of 15-minute checkups, spanned over an hour for these things.
That's crazy. And I wouldn't, Well, so also why I don't think they're necessarily maybe harmful. So the one lady I interviewed for Conscious Contact, full disclosure, our first doc, Sue Walker, she's a clairvoyant telepath. And I just had an interesting experience where when I came back from the interview and she had said, hey, the Ponti, who are the extraterrestrials that she says that she's in telepathic contact with in a mountain base in the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's like, I found that they go visit the people, some people that have come to interview me. And typically, especially if they like say, hey, they're comfortable with it. If they like verbally state out loud, they're comfortable. So like she asked me, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with it. She's like, oh, what about your son? I was like, oh yeah, no, he's cool. He's fine. He's 8. Or maybe I guess he was 7 at the time. And dude, don't you know, there's just some weird like hitchhiker effects going on when I get back from this interview with his medication disappearing, his like inhaler. Yeah, like while we're both in the room, like just disappeared. We're looking all over for it. And then it like is right there laying on the floor, like in the middle of the floor, like, a minute later. It's like, dude, how do we not see that? What the hell's going on? But it got to the point where enough kind of weird things happened that my son was kind of freaking out some. And I'm like, look, bro, if anything, they're just teasing us. If they want to do us harm, it'd already be done. So here's what's up. Ponti, if you're out there messing with us, please make Dad the best filmmaker in the world. And bro, we've got 4 docs picked up since I said that. So if the Ponti are out there helping, dude, mad props to them. Now I will say one other thing is like, yeah, if there is so much diversity in intelligent life forms, I wouldn't be shocked either if there's, interdimensional beings or extraterrestrials or whatever that feed off like loosh or whatever that what is that, like Tom DeLonge has talked about. And that like there's this like when there's like conflict or whatever between humans, there's like this negative energy that is given off, and that they would be like parasites, right? And like feeding off like the negative energy of people being in conflict. And so maybe to some extent, them helping, right, I guess, try and create more conflict or nudging more people to have more conflict so they can feed more. I guess it could be a possibility, but I'm just so optimistic. I'm like, cool, well, if there's a set of them, then there's got to be another set that's feeding off positive energy
good right
and emotions. Now. What's up?
They're eating good right now.
Oh yeah, the positive ones. Yeah, no, I'm throwing them food all day long. So, yeah, dude. But yeah, the world's a crazy place, man. So, extraterrestrial. I think it's so big that the universe is so big. The odds are in the favor of intelligent life elsewhere.
I agree with that. I mean, it just seems. To me, it seems a little like self-centered that we're the only ones. Like we're the only ones out there. We're the only ones who got lucky and evolved or whatever the circumstances.
Past all the great filters. We're the first through the doors.
And then the other side of it is, yeah, maybe we're not the only ones, but maybe just no one. Maybe there's tons of ETs. But maybe if you're going to go the complete other way that ETs can get here through wormholes or whatever reason, maybe there's in almost every solar system, there is life that becomes intelligent, but you can't get out. That's it. The great filter is your atmosphere. You can get out satellites. You can get a guy to your moon, maybe the next planet over, but just biological life cannot get through the vast distance of space. So there's 2. Maybe you can become so advanced that you can manipulate the laws of the universe through energy, harnessing the energy of your sun or whatever, using wormholes. Or maybe every solar system has suckers like us always wondering what's in the next one over. You look up there, every one of those stars got a human in their own version or whatever. So no matter which way you think about it and which way you theorize and ponder, like the universe, it's endless. And people have been doing it. You'd imagine like 250,000 years ago or whatever, just a guy in his cave, he's looking up at night. He's thinking pretty much the same stuff. He might not. He doesn't know.
Back then, I think it was they were thinking there were pinholes poked in a black blanket over the sky. There was light behind it, and there was pinholes. And it's like, dude, I can see that rationale, right? Like I can understand people thinking that
someone's looking down on us.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. Like, dude, if any intelligent life form happens to like spawn 100, 1,000 years before us and follow the same technological trajectory. It's like, well, dude, yeah, in 1,000 years, I don't know, dude, we are probably like, galaxy jumping and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, why even limit it to that? Like, bro, the universe is, billions of years old, right? So What if they had a 1 billion year head start or 2 billion year? Like, we can't even fathom, right, what level of thinking they are on, because, man, reality and mass consciousness has shifted tremendously just in the past 100 years. So in 1 billion years, dude, I don't even know what that looks like.
Unfathomable, they would say.
It is.
Like, you just can't. Well, we can try. We could try for hours. We probably sit here for hours and hours going through all the different.
But we still won't get
what
it.
If? We'll never get it right. No, never. That's why
because
it's fun.
There was nobody 100 years ago talking about having like every piece of information in the world at the tip of your fingertips, right? And being able to watch, access it, all the data in real time, whenever you wanted to, talk to whoever you want via like nobody could even think that, right? They just couldn't. It wasn't possible.
Well, yeah, but I think maybe Tesla said something about you might be able to have something in the palm of your hand, but not to that effect of all the knowledge of the world, but be able to talk to people from the palm of your hand. But there'd be very few people who could see the future that far ahead, be like, this is where I think technology is going. So it'd be interesting to go 100 years from now.
And that's just 100 years. Like, I'd like to see somebody offer, like, where are we at in 100,000 years? Like, bro, there's no way you get that right.
Yeah,
there's just no way.
If we make it that
you'd
far,
have to eat a ton of psilocybin, and maybe you got a shot.
Wash it down with some ayahuasca.
Exactly. But that's the only way you're getting into that realm, bro.
No doubt.
You have to have a visit from the metal dwarfs to understand that.
The machine elves.
The machine elves.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the creators of the universe.
Which is super interesting, right? Yeah. Why are all these people, or not all, but it's like crazy that there's a lot of people who have had DMT experiences and talk about, right, these like machine elves. So it's like, well, bro, are they really there in this other dimension? How are so many different people seeing that
and interacting with them?
Dude, I don't know. What's the refresh rate on our eyes? Like the human experience? Like, it's not that good. Like, dude, if a fly or something goes past me fast enough, like I won't see it. You feel me? It doesn't mean it's not there. I just don't see it.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, we live in a visible spectrum, right? We see visible light, and that's like a very small sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. So we see a low refresh rate, where they say 30, maybe 60 hertz, or like 60 frames a second.
Okay.
Whatever the new Hobbits were filmed at, a couple frames less than that, because that was hard to watch.
They were at 48.
48? Yeah.
That's what they filmed that at.
Yeah, the Hobbits was weird.
I was like, everyone's moving too crisp. I don't like it.
Doesn't look real. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, Dockside Media, baby. Yo, we don't screw around with that. We shoot everything in 24 frames per second, dude. So
nice.
Or in 120 and then slow it down 5 times to 24 frames for like that slow-mo buttery B-roll footage.
Right.
But yeah, 24. And it's weird, right? How I'm glad you brought that up, Braden, because like I feel like a lot of people don't notice that. But bro, I can see a difference between 30 frames per second and 24 frames. Like 24 frames, my brain, and I think most of society is trained like that's cinema. That's what a Hollywood movie looks like. There's a certain motion blur by only having 24 pictures in that 1 second of movement. 30 frames, I like automatically think like soap opera or whatever, it's like a handheld like video camera. Like, and it just, if we did the docs in that style, it wouldn't look.
I've always said there's, when with movies, there gets to a point where if they look too good, you look like you're watching a shitty ad.
It's true.
Yeah, like a shitty like B movie.
People on a set. Yeah,
you're like, this sucks. I don't like this. I don't feel emotionally invested. I don't feel like I'm a part of this world. I feel like I'm looking through a window and it's not. And I'm like, Gandalf doesn't wear makeup. What the fuck's going on? But no, I do appreciate the 24 frames.
Oh yeah.
That's what's up.
All right, Tyler, we're coming to the end of the interview here. Let the people know where they can find not only this doc, but all your other ones, your website, your Twitter. Where can people find you?
You got it, man. So again, I'm Tyler with Dockside Media. Yeah, dude, we're just creating dope paranormal documentaries. You can, the newest one is In Plain Sight, the Intelligence Community and UFOs, which is available October 18th on Amazon, Apple TV, iTunes, Google Play, PlayStation, and Microsoft. We have links to all our docs on our website, www.docsidemedia.com. That's DOCSIDE media. We also are very active on Facebook, so you can look for the Dockside Media page. And then we're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Dockside Media. And we have a YouTube channel as well. So, and we just, for some of these different documentaries, whether it's Secrets of the Sasquatch or The Ghost of Gettysburg, you know, we put out these like public call outs saying, hey, we're doing a haunted camp out at this, you know, this on these like sacred grounds, right? Or at this haunted cemetery. Yeah, anybody, you know, is welcome to join us. So if you're into this type of content and into, you know, and you're adventurous and like exploring these different topics, man, we'd love to have you come along. So please follow us, you know, interact with us on the socials, man, and we'll get you in a doc. And so far, man, we make everybody look good. We just do. So you don't have to worry like, oh, dude, I want
24 frames.
That's our job, man. 24 frames. And I don't know. I do a good job of getting everybody in a real good mindset when they're sharing these personal stories and experiences that, you know, sometimes might not be comfortable, but yeah, they're just always in a good headspace, man. And it looks and sounds great. Man, I think everybody did a really good job in this In Plain Sight, the Intelligence Community and UFOs, and super excited just to hear the feedback that we get when this thing drops, because so far, it's just been really, really cool and humbling. And we think it's going to be really popular here. So we look forward to everybody watching it, man.
Hell yeah.
So leave some reviews too.
Hell yeah. We enjoyed it. If you're listening to our show, you're into these type of topics. It's fun to hear the people who have been there behind the scenes, the people at the Air Force Base, the people behind some
people with better clearance than us,
higher clearance than us, 100%. So
exactly. And it's just, I always get a kick out. It's like, oh, bro, like if Richard Doty is just making this stuff up right now, like what's his motive, right? Like why would he waste his time? You know what I mean? Or say stuff that's going to just make him look like a fool. It doesn't compute with me. So it's cool, man. I think everybody will be just very entertained and get a lot of good new information and just some food for thought that you can bounce around to that noggin of yours and and become a better person, man, and work towards disclosure.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks, brother. We appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Dude, yep. We'll keep sending docs your way if you'll keep having us on and watching them. So thanks so much.
We love them.
Dan, Braden, Zel, you guys rock, man. A lot of fun.
All right, man. Catch you later. Thanks a lot.